our deepest struggles comes from disconnection, or what is popularly known as rejection. That's where our deepest struggles come from. And before we dive into, the course itself, I would like to lay a foundation for this course. And I will do that by answering this particular question. What exactly is reconnection? Remember, we are dealing with the cost of reconnection, the price you need to pay for reconnection. But we need to find out first what exactly is reconnection and why does it matter for you right now? Why does it matter for you? Now, what I want to do is to expose you to my mind. I want to bring you into my mind so that you can see my train of thought and hopefully see the picture that I'm seeing. I've been staring at for the past couple of days or weeks. And I will do that by sharing an experience. Just recently, I had to visit one of my clients who was going through depression and some other challenges that had to do with mental health. And having spent about 2 hours or thereabout, we had a breakthrough and it was time to head home. And the journey that was meant to take me about 28 minutes thereabout to get home became 40 minutes. And I was wondering, and of course, it is what we call the rush hour. I don't know if you have ever wondered why we even call it rush hour, right? And in that traffic, I began to think. And the question that came to mind is, what exactly is the inspiration behind this movement? What is the driving force? What is driving each and every one on this road for which they are trying to move from point A to point B? You see that the road is full, the traffic was heavy. There was movement to and fro. And as I was just meditating on that, the next question that comes to mind was, is this how we were designed to live? Because if we are going to be honest with ourselves, most of those movements, either in the morning, people were trying to go to work, go to their businesses, make ends meet. And in the center of all of this movement, or in most of them, you will see the pursuit of money. Is that true? To work so that we can earn, to earn so that we can spend, only to go back to work again, to earn so that we can spend even more. And it becomes a cycle that our lives moves around. And it beckons that question, is this how we are designed to live? And there are many people that their life feels like an endless cycle like that, going back and forth to work, to earn, to spend, and back to work again, only to spend even more. And despite all of these things, there are still no satisfaction, no fulfillment. It is as though there is a void that could not be filled. Is this how we were designed to live? And every time this question comes to mind, because I don't know about you, but personally, I tend to ask this question in different aspects of my lives. Is this how we were designed to live? And the only way to answer this question is to turn to the one, the wisdom of the one that put everything in place, the creator, the manufacturer himself. And I've come to discover that there are three ways to access the wisdom of the manufacturer. Number one is to turn to creation itself. There are answers there. Number two is to turn to the manual, the holy book. The answers are there. And number three is for the creator himself to speak to you, maybe through your thoughts, through encounters and the likes. Answers can also come from there. And so, in this situation, I decided to turn to the manual because it has to do with original design, right? And when I looked at the manual in my study and research, I saw quite a number of things. I saw things that are different from popular opinion. And I'm going to be sharing some of them with us today. The first thing that struck me was not necessarily a lot of information, but a principle that I was able to isolate in that manual. And the principle was that everything we see in creation, in Genesis chapter 1, Genesis chapter 2, that story of creation, everything we see there sets the pace for the things to come. In other words, in the Creator's creation, we see the principles that should guide our own creation or creativity, as the case may be. So what we saw there in Genesis 1 and 2 is like the seed, it's like a pattern, it's like the boundaries that had been set upon which we can begin to build on, upon which we can begin to express our innovative capacities. You see that? And when I saw this principle, I decided to turn to creation to find examples for this principle so that I can put creation side by side with the manual and find what is common between them. And guess what? I found another thing. Because if the pursuit of money is at the center of most of this rushing around, most of this movement, most of this chasing, and all of that, and this money is the currency that we spend to acquire, to possess, to sustain, to meet needs and wants and the likes, then I want to understand if this is how we were designed to actually live our lives. And so I discovered that the only true currency that the Creator gave us to spend is time. That time is a currency. And the beautiful thing about what I discovered is the fact that this currency, we didn't have to work for it. I mean, let me ask you, what did you do to get the 24 hours that you are spending today? Was it because of what you did or not do yesterday that granted you access to the 24 hours of today that you are still spending? For some of us in Africa or in the United Kingdom, you are about to exhaust it and you are waiting for another one that you could spend. And we didn't work for it. That every single morning you open your eyes and breathe in a new day, those 24 hours are a proof that there is still a purpose for your life. In other words, the currency of time was designed to be spent on purpose. Now, this is beginning to make sense because when you bring it on the principle I shared with you the other time, that the things we saw in that creation story was put there to set the pace for the things to come. So, what principle is time as a currency trying to reveal to us? It is the fact that currencies, either your naira, your pounds, your dollar, your euro, currencies are designed to be spent on fulfilling purpose. I hope what I'm saying makes sense. Now, the problem is we live in a world where currency and purpose have been separated. You see that? So many people work and spend not out of design, but out of desperation to fill a void inside of them. And this attempt to fill this void keeps them in the trap of work, earn, spend, survive, and repeat. It's like a cycle. You see that? So, and as long as we separate purpose and currency, we will continue to move in this cycle with the hope that we can fill this void, only to discover that money was not designed to fill that void. Now, I shared all of these things with you so that I can tell you that every human being on earth today carries a void within them. It is a universal pain, a cry that is common to every one of us. It is the cry of our heart. And this cry, this ache, it is the cry for love. It is the longing for acceptance. It is the desire to belong. And I know you've experienced it as well. You felt it, or maybe you are feeling it too. The sense that something is missing. That you were made for more than what you are experiencing currently. And this shows up in different dimensions or different ways in each person. For some of us, it shows up as an emptiness that we experience even after achieving a goal we thought would satisfy us. For some of us, is that loneliness even when you are in a crowded room. The restlessness that no amount of activities can quiet. The exhaustion that we experience from trying to earn love and approval? Or is it the confusion about purpose and your place in this world? I read a book some time ago written by a professor. And this man was sharing an experience and he was talking about this same thing. He said it was in one of his class and he asked the student a question. If I really get to know you, what will I think about you? If I really get to know you deeply, if I can enter into your mind to see what is happening there, what will I think about you? And the whole room was dead silent, except for a little whisper. One of the students never expected that his voice would be heard. It was more like speaking below his breath. And what he said was that you probably wouldn't want to be in the same room with me. And he paints a picture of how this student sees himself. And if I ask you the same question today, because many of us, we are living in the fear of if people really get to know us, will they still accept us? Or they probably wouldn't accept us. And all of these feelings, these experiences, they are not random. I know that many times we turn to activities in order to suppress them. All kinds of activities. We turn to work, achievement, successes, and all of that in order to suppress them. We want to live in denial of them. But all of these feelings were not meant to be thrown aside. As a matter of fact, they are not revealing the fact that you are a failure, that you are not enough, that you are not good for anything. That is not the reason. This may have been the interpretation that your world, your environment may have given you. But I'm here to tell you that all of these feelings are indicators. They are pointers. It's like the dash light or the dashboard in your car. And each of those lights is a signal pointing you in a particular direction. I remember the other day my wife was on her way to work, to her office, and she called me only to tell me that there was a light, an unusual light that appeared on the dashboard. And after she described this light, I discovered it was the one for engine light. So when she parked, we discovered that all the oil had leaked out. And in fact, smoke was beginning to come out from the bonnet. Now, this indicator was signaling that something essential is disconnected. Imagine if she were to be driving and continue in denial of that, or just trying to take our eyes off it, which is the way many of us we have been living our lives. And because of it, we have not been able to read these indicators, these signals, so that we can actually go to the root of why we are experiencing this. So every one of those feelings are indicators. They are signaling to you about something essential that you have been disconnected from. And the truth is, we are living in a disconnected world. I mean, it is true that we have the internet, we have the social media, we have all the tools that promises connection. But the more connected we seem, the more disconnected we actually become. You see that? And so each and every one of us, we are moving around carrying what I call rejection trauma or the pain of disconnection. It is the deep wound, a very deep wound of being cut off from the connection we were created for. And this wound, as a matter of fact, is one of the, if not the most deepest wound that we can experience as a human being. When you experience physical injury, for example, many a times they heal over time. We can relate with that with sustain injury that over time the wound dried up, and before you know it, a new skin covers it up. And in a matter of time, it is as though you never experienced the injury, or maybe a little scar that will never impact your function is what remains. But this is not the same with the wound of rejection or disconnection. It is a wound that oftentimes it grows deeper. If not attended to, it doesn't heal over time like the physical wound. It grows deeper. And what makes this wound to be dangerous is that it touches the very core of our human design. Remember, we were designed for connection. We were created for connection. Connection is a foundational need to our existence. And this is one wound that touches that core. And when that wound is severed, it strikes the foundation of who we are. Maybe through abandonment, the connection is severed. Because that rejection can be experienced as a form of abandonment, could be betrayal, neglect, criticism, abuse, exclusion, or in whatever form it is for you. It strikes the foundation of who you are. And what that means is that it doesn't just affect how you feel, it also impacts how we think, how we relate with others. As a matter of fact, how we imagine God sees us. Let's talk about this wound a little. Let me check the time. Oh my God. So, when you look at this wound of rejection, with the little I've exposed you to, you realize that it is not a wound to ignore. Ignoring it is at our own detriment. Now, many of us may be living in ignorance of this wound of disconnection. Many of us, we have actually come to that place where we've realized, we have questioned our upbringing, we have questioned the environment we grew up in, we've questioned even our parents, our bloodline, our friends, relationships, and all of that. And some of us, we've been asking ourselves, how did I become like this? And I want to share with you that this pain, this wound never began with you. It began way even before your parents. That every one of us were a victim of an occurrence that took place in the Garden of Eden. That in order for us to deal with this wound, we need to find the root of it. Because it is in finding the root that we can permanently and adequately deal with it. It's like going to see a doctor to complain that you have, you share all of your symptoms. And after sharing everything, they send you to the lab for a test. And when the result comes out, none of your symptoms will be listed on the result. A brand new name will come out as a diagnosis. You know what just happened? They have journeyed to the root of the matter. And then the doctor prescribes a medication. A medication that will go and deal with the root. Imagine if all the doctor was attempting to do was to cut the branches here and there and give medication for each symptoms. You won't need meal again because the medication will become your breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And you still won't get the results that you desire. But they journey to the root. They diagnose the genesis of it and tackle it from there. So when we talk about a wound that is this deep, so deep that when we describe it, we use terms like heartbreak. Have you ever used that term before? Someone broke your heart. The feeling of being crushed. In fact, the Bible used the term a crushed spirit, a broken heart. It is the nature of that wound. You see what I'm saying? So we need to find the root so that we can deal with it adequately. And I discovered that the root began in that garden, the rebellion of Adam and Eve. And it was this rebellion that occasioned 5 major disconnection in the lives of every human being. Number 1 is disconnection from source. Number 2 is disconnection from laws and principles that were put in place to guide your life or our lives. You see that? Number 3 is disconnection from one another. The one-time companion that the man referred to as the bone of my bone, the flesh of my flesh, and called his wife, became someone that the man now pointed an accusing finger towards. It is the woman that you gave me that caused this problem. And number 5, disconnection from the community or environment. All of these things were factored into our designs. But this rebellion became disconnection from all of them. And from that time, every one of us, we carry that void in our heart that cries for love and belonging. And guess what? You can't give what you don't have. Have you ever wondered why the Bible says we love him because he first loved us? You know what that means? It means there is no way you can express love if you have not received it. And if this rejection trauma has positioned us in an environment where we are disconnected from everything called love and belonging according to design, it means we can't pass it to another. Therefore, we need him to love us first so that we can know what it means to be loved, how we experience it, and then we can express it to other people. Hence, that scripture. We love him because he first loved us. This is where the need for reconnection happens. The need to reconnect with our source. The need to reconnect with the laws and principles that will guide our lives. The need to reconnect with others. The need to reconnect with our true community or environment. And ultimately, the need to reconnect with our true self. And if these are needs, then we need to ask ourselves, what exactly is it going to cost us in order to establish this connection again? Because we once had it, we lost it. Now we want to do what? Reconnect. What is it going to cost us? Because reconnection is not automatic. It requires something of you. And over the next few sessions, we are going to be exploring what it costs. We are going to be exploring why it is worth the price. And we are going to be exploring how you can experience the freedom of reconnection for yourself. And this is the objective of this course. So I invite you to join us on this journey, to be honest with yourself as we take this journey, because this reconnection is the doorway to your true identity, to your purpose, and to living a life of impact. You see that? And I'm not going to leave you without an assignment. And then we are going to pray before we go into the family table where we can begin to share and talk about some of the things that stood out to us and take questions. Okay, for those that are on YouTube and you want to be a part of the family table, please indicate in the comment section and a member of our team will connect with you. Now, the assignment I'm giving you to take home is to identify specific experiences where you felt deeply rejected. And I use the term deeply because rejection in our world now is a common experience. Okay? Even when it comes to rejection from job applications, that's another experience. But it becomes deep when the experience is, or when we experience it rather repeatedly, and it becomes chronic. It goes beyond just the common job rejection. It begins to form a new identity for us. So I want you to identify these specific experiences. It can be from your childhood. It can be from, peer-to-peer relationship or friendships. It can be in the family. Do you know the interesting thing is that an unwanted pregnancy can become a child that experiences rejection? What happened to the mother during pregnancy impacts the child as well. And there was a research that was carried out. They discovered that the children that were born during the time of Great Depression, they had a lot of rejection trauma because it was a burden for the parents. There was a lot of trouble already. To have an additional child and carry the responsibility was a big thing. So for some of us, maybe this deeply seated rejection is from our workplaces, relationships, even rejection in our relationship with God or with purpose. I want you to identify. And then secondly, to reflect on the impacts of these experiences in your life. How has these experiences shaped your life, shaped the way you see yourself, your self-perception, your willingness to trust and connect with other people, to be vulnerable? How has these experiences shaped that? Because our lives are shaped by experiences, either traumatic experiences or prevailing experiences. If we understand that, then I want you to join me as we say this short prayer. It's a simple prayer that I want you to also take home and pray. This is the beginning of this course, and as we proceed, you begin to see why it is important to pray this prayer. And I want you to take journaling serious. Document the things that are being revealed to you, that comes to mind, those experiences. Put them into writing. They will come handy as we progress in this course. So can you join me and pray this prayer in the next 2 minutes? That Father, open my eyes to see the wounds that have shaped my life and stir my heart with the hope of reconnection. Can we pray that prayer? Open my eyes to see the wounds, the traumatic experiences that have shaped my life, my perception, the way I see myself, the way I interface with others and the world around me, that have shaped the way I even relate with God. Open my eyes. Some of us, when we say God is your father, the only idea of fatherhood that you have experienced is that of your earthly father, and it may not have been the best experience. And this has translated into how you relate with God. You see that this is why you need to see the impact of these wounds so that you can drop those ideas that no longer serve on this, that will no longer serve you rather on this new path that you're about to embark on. Open my eyes to see the wounds that have shaped my life. For some of you, those thoughts are beginning to come. You are beginning to remember the things that happened in the past, in your primary school, in your secondary school, your high school, in your college days, in your workplace, in your relationship with your parent, the sibling rivalry that you experience, and the likes. I heard Derek Prince share the story of a woman that, unknowing to her, she favored one child than the other. And in one of those days, she was in her room and she just noticed that, oh, one of her children was by the door. And she said, "Darling, is that you?" And the child responded, "No, it is," and then mentioned his name. And at that moment, the mother realized that that child had carried the pain of rejection. It wasn't as if she planned it, but it had registered in the heart of that child that is not the darling, is the other one. And she broke down in repentance. For some of us, we may be that other child. And we have questioned, could it be that I am not good for anything, that nothing good can come out of me? Because your parents are meant to be your first role model. And what you have seen from them, the words that are being spoken to you, will go a long way in shaping your life until you come to that place, which can be today and right now for someone, where you make a decision that I no longer want to continue this way. The burden of rejection, of disconnection that I've carried, I want to put it down. And let my life begin a whole new pattern that generations to come will benefit from. You can end that pattern with you. Father, open my eyes to see the wounds that have shaped my life and steer my heart with the hope of reconnection. Enlighten the eyes of my understanding so that I can see. Open my eyes to see